Welcome to Listening with China Blue. This is a podcast that focuses on how listening not only informs us about what is occurring in the world around us, but also helps us connect with others, build stronger businesses, strengthens our mental health, and become more creative and compassionate individuals. As more and more people practice attentive listening in a community, it becomes a community-building practice that strengthens our mental health as we learn from our neighbors. I will be interviewing people from all walks of life to learn how listening has informed them in their field and helped them to make intelligent decisions. They will be artists, musicians, composers, dancers, business people, psychologists, neuroscientists, and Buddhists, to name a few. About me, I'm an internationally exhibiting sound-based artist. In my work, Discovering Unheard Sounds, I realized that the core component that drove my work was simply listening. That realization put me on the path of speaking about and helping people learn to become better listeners. I began with leading sound walks, which I continue to do in the upstate New York region to help people learn to listen from nature. And now, tune your ears to this podcast to learn about the power of listening. And do pay attention until the end for further information on how to start your own listening practice, share it with others, and to support Listening with China Blue. IONE is an author, director, and performer whose works include the critically acclaimed memoir, Pride of Family, 4 Generations of American Women of Color, Listening in Dreams, and This is a Dream. She is the playwright and director with her creative partner and spouse, Pauline Oliveros, of several large theatrical works, including Njinga the Queen King, The Return of a Warrior, premiered at BAM's Next Film Festival, The Nubian Word for Flowers, a phantom opera that premiered at Roulette Intermedium, and the New York Public Library at Lincoln Center, the dance opera Io and Her and the Trouble with Him, and the Lunar Opera-Deep Listening For tunes. The two performed internationally as a duo, and currently IONE disseminates Oliveros' works worldwide. She recently presented the worldwide tuning meditation at Carnegie Hall as a part of Claire Chase's Pauline Oliveros at 90. 2 days of celebration included an ensemble performance of The Witness and The Day of Listening. She is an executive producer of Daniel Weintraub's seminal film, Deep Listening, the Story of Pauline Oliveros, currently showing in selected theaters worldwide. IONE, I'm so honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
So one of my first questions for you is that as a spouse of Pauline Oliveros, I wanted to lean into Pauline's work, Deep Listening, and learn a little bit more from you about how that concept infiltrated your creative lives together.
That sounds like a good concept. That's a good way to say it. Well, it's pretty deep, and it has quite a long history. I think you'd like me to I can jump in anywhere, but I can start way back and then take a leap forward. When Pauline and I first met, for example, we decided to tell each other our visions for life. You know, we had this extraordinary first meeting in which we didn't really know each other, but we wanted to know each other, and it was our birthdays. So I had invited Pauline to a birthday party that was supposed to be happening, and as it turned out, no one arrived at the birthday party but Pauline.
Oh.
And there are reasons for this. It had to do with being way up in the country, close to where we are now living, and people in New York at that time didn't travel. This was like 83. People didn't travel out of the city very much into the boonies, they called it. The city was a place to be, and nobody had cars and so forth. So these friends were going to come up to this house sitting situation I had, and they just didn't get it together with the car, and so nobody came. Uh, so anyway, we both discovered that we had a very similar vision for the future, or for being, very similar, and it had to do with a network of artists harmoniously being together, making music, making sounds, making art, all kinds of art, and worldwide, and being able to make a living with it easily, comparatively easily, with their work, and finding the support of community. And we were kind of shocked that we each had this, and somehow from that moment, actually that night, we saw a shooting star off the porch, gazing out into the night, and we said, something's going on, something's happening here, And so, indeed, from that moment on, we did develop very much that vision, and today, deep listening is a worldwide phenomenon. My Women's Mysteries groups and teachings at the Ministry of Mahat, who is a sister organization that Pauline is very involved with, and I was very involved in the deep listening aspect, and both flourishing and having many people interested in it, and creating what the vision was. In other words, it's still manifesting. So there's that part. There's that. That's kind of an overview.
Nice.
So the other thing is, okay, I was working. I was living in New York from the 70s. I was in Europe, and so returning from Europe in the 70s to New York City, mid 70s, beginning to teach and do circles of dreams and dream circles and creative workshops, creativity workshops, we might want to call them, looking back. Developing journal and notebook workshops, which was just a big thing, beginning to go worldwide. Nobody was doing that prior to those times. So, but it was getting lots and lots of interest. And so I had actually many workshops which built upon each other. They involved journals and dreaming and deep creativity. I looked at one point, I had graduates, people would just keep coming back to these workshops. But at a certain point, I don't want to go too far. Well, at a certain point, I decided to, because I was also a journalist at that time, so I was sent to Egypt on assignment. And when I got back from this momentous journey, I decided that it would be wonderful to take some of my students. I said, we're going to be together for a year and do this creativity, transformational, intuitive work of women's mysteries, and then we'll go to Egypt for initiation, because I wanted them to experience some of the things I experienced in this country. All right, so that actually happened. By that time I had met Pauline, and Pauline came to these events, and we went to Egypt together several times after that. So Egypt was a part of things for me, and still is. I've made 9 journeys to Egypt. But let's look at deep listening and let's see what was happening in that realm. So Pauline, during the time that Pauline was discovering and working with this wonderful group of women in the 70s and beginning to create the sonic meditations, during that time, I was doing this. I was in New York. I hadn't met her yet. And I was doing some of what I just described to you. So she was doing that in the 70s. And I was doing what I was doing on the East Coast. And the dream circles were very, very powerful. Pauline was very interested in dreams and also incorporating all of the dreams into her work there. And her play there and her investigations are very powerful. And so at a certain point, Pauline came east, so that when we met, we were doing pretty much very interested in same things as I mentioned before. But the dreams and listening were very, very powerfully emerging or merging together. There came a time when we were invited by Eloise Gold, who's to go up to a place called Rose Mountain in New Mexico. And Rose Mountain turned out to be this magnificent, very small retreat center, and it just had begun. Eloise's brother had created it, was creating that space, and we began to. Pauline actually discovered up there, as she said, just more about what deep listening was, because it was this kind of a playground. It became a kind of playground retreat for her and for all of us. But before that, there was this concept of deep listening as a name, which had happened in the cistern in Port Townsend. So the cistern in Port Townsend had this marvelous delay, this echo that was extraordinary, and she and Stu Dempster and Patty Otis went down there. They hadn't really planned on recording, but they did record. And when they listened back, it was amazing. So this piece is iconic, called Deep Listening, and they named it that as a kind of. Pauline said, "Well, we're 40 some feet down under the ground. Let's call it Deep Listening." And so they loved it. They loved to pun, all of them, and so that had already been coined. However, when we went up on the mountain, this was this beautiful, pristine place. Pauline could explore with the first groups that came in a very, very wonderful way, that way that she hadn't been able to exactly before. And I was incorporating the dream element, and we were discovering something that I've been calling listening in dreams, which I'd already been doing in places like Esalen and the Open Center in New York and so forth. But up there, we could really do it. So, because I would ask people, "Do you have sound in dreams?" And they would say, "Well, what are you talking about?" And it's a lot different now, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's because of what we've been doing. I said maybe it's working, but people do pay more attention. But still, it's pretty, because dreams are so visual. So So people don't realize that they have sound until they start paying attention. So up there, they could pay attention. We could all pay attention. So Pauline was, and I both were really connecting to being with these explorers. We were all exploring listening, exploring whatever artistic elements came out of that listening, realizing that I could develop with these students and myself a 24-hour listening, a 24-hour dreaming as well.
Nice.
So those two elements began to happen just organically, being there, and was a lot of fun too, and deeply creative, and so Pauline says, she really got the most out of things at that point. It was really a coalescence. So I would say that would be maybe an answer to your question. Whichever question that was.
That was so beautifully thought out and presented, and so rich and full. I was just caught up into the stream of it.
I was just trying to get it out.
Well, you have such a deep and long history together, but I've never really understood the timeline of it, of you and Pauline's interaction and engagement, and how it evolved. And that's one of the primary questions that I had was, and you filled it out so well, talking about this rich range of experiences. And I can see that how your lives were quite intimately, creatively intertwined in these similar or almost parallel directions that somehow kept on intersecting more and more and more and more.
Yes, yeah, it was quite beautiful. It's really, we had beautiful lives together.
Yes.
And separately, but we were always intertwining, as you said, because it was like an intertwining element that was happening. Yeah.
So, Ione, I wanted to learn a little bit more about your dream work. Can you tell us a little bit, an overview of how what your dream focus is and how it operates, and maybe a little bit about the workshops you run?
Right. Well, the idea about dreams is at a certain point I devoted or dedicated myself to making to paying attention to dreams and to making dreams dreams more accessible to everyone, and to do what I call what became known and I called it lift off judgment, which in the deep listening groups of classes became has become a kind of meme. So as I continue to explain, is that what I noticed in those years before, like going to Esalen and places like that, and doing these dream workshops, that people often, most people had there was a problem about dreams. I'd say, they would say, oh, I don't dream, or I never dream, or I don't know, or you don't want to hear my dreams. All my dreams are, I don't want to talk about. There was always something negative, and I wanted to lift that off. I wanted to have people make it so that people that I was encountering could relax more and feel more at ease about their dreams and be more interested in the phenomena of dreaming by paying attention. And also just have more fun. So I wouldn't even use, so I suggest not using the term dream work, which is so prevalent. Oh yes, I'm working. God, working. Well, you don't need to work on them. Maybe it's like have more fun with them, relax, and pay more attention in other ways. Be more interested in what is this what's going on, and so rather than analyzing dreams, so I was not suggesting that that analyzing is that we never analyze or go to that direction. However, I think that it's out of balance. Some of it had to do with some of the people's fears coming up around dreams had to do with Freudian concepts, which gave them the idea that there were these deep things that were happening and there was something wrong with them. So it's coming from that place. So I wanted to just let that be more balanced. The various kinds of analyses and ways of connecting with dreaming on a linear level. But no, it's okay to have it say, what does this mean? It's fine. But what I was realizing was that we could begin to organically understand our dreams if we pay attention to them, our own symbols and our own stories, and so linear meaning comes through to us as we pay more and more attention to what's happening within ourselves. So we don't have to impose a set method, shall we say. So this is our own. So it's freeing them. I'm freeing your dreams. So there's that. And there's also overarching is the concept of dream community, which is there are other people around doing dream community for years and years and years, and also for centuries. So, for example, in those early years, I was connected to the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach, and some people there were some nice people were talking about dreams and having dream community, and had a little journal. Anyway, I was communing with other people around dreams and really beginning to make it a specialty of mine. So one of the things I would say is that dreams never lie.
Perfect.
which gets everybody's attention, or used to. And so the main thing I was realizing is that they don't lie about our feelings. So whatever the stories are, whatever the images and so forth, we really, whatever the feelings are, not the feelings that we have after we wake up, but the feelings that we have during the dream are accurate, are true, I would say. Okay, true to us, true to our feeling. So, and from that, we can, what a gift. It's a gift. As humans, we are, generally speaking, it's suggested, or more than suggested, that we don't pay attention to our feelings, or that we don't express them anyway. So we grow up with this in a state of confusion at certain points sometimes because of that. So you can't know what I'm really feeling. What am I? So the dreams tend to show us that what we're really feeling. So that's what that means.
And does listening in your dreams help allow that to come up?
Oh yes. So in communing and playing and doing the workshops with Pauline and I together, the concept of the sound in the dreams, as I said, with 24-hour listenings, was really, really potent as a concept. And yes, to pay attention to sound in the dreams makes us very, very, what would I call, sensitive to the world, to the living aspect of ourselves, to being in the world, this particular world, at this particular time. Yes, the sonic element is very, very important and very powerful. And I use it also when I say listening in dreams. I also mean listening to the feelings. So I use it in that sense as well. Full body listening that can happen to help us to communicate with each other. So we're actually communing. I'm writing about this now. my sense is that we're actually communing on a deep feeling level. When we pay attention to each other, we can commune on a deep feeling level about the dreams. So through the dream feelings.
So in essence, that helps to define in a sense, a community.
Yes. Thank you.
Who are sharing and discussing and exploring their
Yes.
personal experiences and feelings in the way that they normally would not be capable of doing.
Well, I think they're capable. They just never think about it because it's marginalized.
Right.
Okay, so that part of ourselves has been marginalized for millennia. However, so as I've devoted myself to helping to write that balance, so bring up the balance of the intuitive, the dreaming level, which we all have the capability of it, so that we are less violent, that we're less contentious, less frightened. Because we're kind of limping along, I would say. Maybe I should use that in my writing. I think we're kind of limping. We're limping along, with half of our, we've got the mental stuff going and the linear stuff, but it's bogging us down in not very pleasant ways.
One
Go
of the
ahead.
things I was thinking about as you're describing this is that when we talk about the concept of dreaming, I often think of the state in which you slide into as you're falling asleep at night.
Yes, I love that state. So yeah, so we have the those in between states, the hypnagogic and hypnopompic states. So going in to sleep and then coming up out of sleep, very powerful. And what I discovered earlier on, well, there were some. I think Ashley Montague had some studies. ESP, for example, extrasensory elements happening in dream time, sleep labs, and so forth. Some experiments, and in those early experiences, they discovered that that a lot was happening, more happening in the hypnopompic state and hypnagogic states than was happening in dreams themselves. And if you notice, a lot of artists do use that state. I use it coming up out of sleep, particularly working on or problem solving. You know, it's a place where problem solving can happen. But it's also a place of great creativity. So we use the word creativity in solving a personal problem, creativity in solving in creating new work, you know,
Right.
and that can begin there. As we focus and pay attention, bring awareness to that state. It's very, very wonderful.
You know, I was thinking sort of in a parallel line to that as you were describing it. And I was thinking about the other concept of dreaming as sort of like a daydream where you fantasize about something. And
Right.
it can be very, very fleeting, and it is usually discarded because, well, I usually discard them. I don't know why other people do, but maybe it's because they're fleeting, or maybe it's because, you know, society doesn't support a deeper analysis of this particular state. But
Right.
the idea of daydreaming is thought of as sort of impractical in a way, but it's also another a daytime dream activity that we all engage in. And
Yes.
and it's interesting how that is correlated with creativity.
Yes. Well, it's very, very important to pay attention to those levels. So part of what is being spoken of here is yes, those levels of daydreaming are amazingly important to stop the marginalization of those as, oh, it's just a daydream. You know, you're a daydreamer. You know how you're
Yeah.
not supposed to be that. You know, in our society, and but there's a lot of understanding of on a quantum level. One of my mentors and teachers, Arno Mendel, speaks of this concept of the daydreaming and all of the dreaming, that the kinds of dream states that we have are extremely important. And when we don't pay attention to them or listen to them, can use that term, it it really, as I said before, we were limping along. You know, there's this feeling. Wait a minute, there's something I'm not doing, or there's something I'm not getting, or something, you know. And it's those things. It's those dreaming places that we want to explore and incorporate. So it's not about ditching other parts of our lives. You know, it's about incorporating an inclusion of the dream states in our lives, so that we have richer, fuller, and I've used that term, more authentic lives, through incorporating the concept of our dreams and our dream states in our daily lives, daily, including night, night and day lives.
Well, just through the practice of discussing, I think that helps people to become aware of how their lives can be made more richer and fuller in this way. And it seems, we have all the tools. It's a matter of bringing them all together and concentrating on that basket of tools to allow us to think about it and talk
Right,
about
right, exactly. And it's, it can be fun. It's actually fun. And I think that, that's one thing that Pauline and I discovered in our lives, that, is that life can be fun. Listening can be fun.
it.
So when you're not having fun, you really need to think about it. Just take a pause a moment. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to think about. I also wanted to talk to you about your 24-hour listening and dreaming and learn a little bit more about that.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Was it a performance, a program, a workshop? How did it operate?
Oh, how it happened. Oh, well, we had these beautiful sessions. There's some writings that are around about this time. I've written a few things. One thing's coming out shortly, I think, from Center for Deep Listening, an essay. Uh, but we had, there's these beautiful aspen trees up there, these pine forests, and there's rocks and so on. Um, and we would have daily gatherings in a studio. There was one studio at the time, and there would begin. The day would be set with listening with Pauline and enacting various. I wouldn't call them rituals, but they were plays of our listening meditations, we could call them, that happened, performances and different things that are in all in Pauline's various books, and also at beginning also almost immediately to let people know that they were going to be creating something before the end of the time together, that there would be at least one major presentation, and generally several during the course. But so there would be something that would occur in the middle of the day. In the evening, I would be presenting a dream event or a dream teaching. Through the years, they were varying because there were meditations, there were collections of enacting dreaming, and there was performance, there was sounding. All of those things were happening related to dreaming, and then there were dream incubations that would happen also, and they would happen during the evening. So there would be dream partners and two people who were supporting each other. I still do that a lot. 2 people or 3 people, particularly supporting each other psychically over distance during the night time, dreaming time. But there could be, for example, a suggestion of incubation. I notice people know about that now, so it's good, but people didn't know in the early days what that was all about. And what that's about simply is suggesting that if you would like to have some what would we call it? Some information, some guidance, perhaps. So requesting that gently from your dreams that something would come harmoniously. So we could do that up on the mountain with each other, really supporting each other and doing that in different ways. And different ways of doing that evolve, but generally speaking, there's a way of using journal to fluff that up a bit so that you know what it is you really want guidance on, and listening for sound in the night, noticing if we dreamed about each other. If we dreamed, there was one year where we were specifically recognizing that the Sonoy of Malaysia many moons ago were said to have asked for a gift from a person if you had dreamed of them during the night. So in the morning you would ask a gift from you would give them a gift if you had dreamed of them during the night. So since we had quiet, nonverbal mornings, we would look up in the morning and we'd see people, handing these little funny little gifts to people without words, all without words, and that was lots of fun. And that had been pointed out as the concept of by some modern psychologists that if you dream of someone, you really, there's part of that person that you were incorporating in some way. So you give them a gift. So, and I would say you could give them a flower, or you can give them a Cadillac, or whatever. So okay, so we would. This is just a kind of example of what it was like. Very, very. Then in the afternoon, Pauline would take us out often into the up on the rocks where we do these special things. The Lunar Opera at Lincoln Center developed that way. We actually developed it up on the mountain. And so in the morning, Eloise Gold would take us. We'd do a meditation walk. Pauline would lead us. We would do Tai Chi, Qigong with Eloise up on the mountain. We'd come down to breakfast. We were all still non-verbal at that time. We'd have breakfast, would be waiting for us, which nothing tasted so good as that. And a little break, and then begin the day of listening with Pauline, and so on. People were intense. Later on, we got to have some platform tents, but at the beginning it was, there was just one building at the beginning, and to get up there is 8,000 feet up. Unfortunately, we've had fire on that mountain last year, and that everything was burned. Everything.
Oh dear! And what was the name of the mountain?
This is Rose Mountain in
Oh, it's Rose Mountain. Yeah.
in New Mexico. Yeah.
Everything got burned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the rocks are still there. That's I told Eloise. I thought, yeah, it's been quite hard. But however, I think it will like the phoenix. It will rise again.
It has.
Yes. Yeah. It's a beautiful place, and Eloise's brother Andy Gold had built his cabin himself, and kind of sourced this for us, because there had been no deep listening retreats. There'd been nothing like that had happened before we got up there. But he was a wonderful teacher himself, and a lovely person who had passed away just recently as well. So.
Hmm. So, there are so many different facets of your life I can see as we kind of have this short conversation about it. And what I'm thinking about is the fact that, of course, in this podcast, we're focused on listening. But as I also see it as an undercurrent that threads through so much of your work and so much of your activities together with Pauline, as almost like a structural form that creates an underpinning.
Yes, yes. Yes, I think the listening element is so profound, and it's so wonderful that it's been able to come out into the world so strongly now, and certain things have happened to push it along, and so. So again, the listening and the awareness of sound itself is something that can bring us so much closer to harmonious lives, and that's Pauline's intention, and it's my intention as incorporating the listening in dreams as well. And I just listened to an introduction that Pauline gave in the early 90s at our all deep listening space, in which she talks about the combination of my work and her work and my work. And so there is and was an interweaving that was very, very powerful for both of us, and powerful for the world, I think, in the long run and in the short run.
Well, it became a powerful force that that somehow maybe structured these massive projects, the operas, the mini operas that you've done together. I think of listening as just one little component, and then I think of these operas as these enormous productions.
Yeah, that's right. So the Lunar Opera, for example, we took over Damrush Park. We took over the Lincoln Center, and it did start up on a mountain with the opera that. So Pauline wrote the score for it, and we enacted it. When by the time we got to Lincoln Center, there were 200 or more people involved in presenting it.
Oh my!
In doing it, performing it, and it was actually one of the first things, major pieces developed over the internet. People, it's so crazy. This is 2000, right? So people were able to actually get on board through organizing it over the internet, which was like, oh, this is, look what we're doing. We're organizing this. But people weren't doing that yet. We're getting players. People were coming from Europe and from different from the East, people were coming to do it. And so what I did, well, there's a structure for that piece, which is Pauline's score, and then I developed a way of doing it, a structure on Lincoln Center, developing these cities and a story that went along with the whole piece. So there were these cities which took place in different locations of Lincoln Center, and there, well, you'll have to look at all the details, but there were ambassadors, some people who could go from one city to another. There were performances. Meanwhile, everyone enacting the score of Pauline's, which had to do with creating action performance on a cue that only you knew. You only knew what that cue was.
Oh,
So
nice.
it could have been a bus sound in the distance, or it could have been someone passing by in a certain way. So there was that part, plus the mini accordion walk that Pauline Eloise guided everyone in this beautiful walk with hundreds of little mini accordions at the opening, and we had the Juto monks apart from and then there was a big concert that night, so in the bandshell. So
Oh my gosh.
and there was a
Took
bird.
it over.
You need to know that so that the story had to do with a lunar city from some planet, unknown planet, but had a lunar city that was happening and being enacted there. That was the story that was happening during that day, and that at a certain point there was going to be a birth, and no one knew where it was going to be, or how or what it would mean. And it did. So it did happen.
So this is kind of like a futuristic opera.
It would definitely.
You guys
Definitely.
had fun.
That's fun. Does that just sound like fun? Yeah. So listening can be fun, and it can be a powerful healing balm for us rather than the other way around, rather than destructive, as we can move toward the concept of healing, listening, listening with our ears, listening with our whole bodies. Oh yeah, and that, which means also listening to the dreaming body, this big dream that we are in, listening, and bringing that awareness, which means that a birth takes place.
That's true. True. Birth of new ideas.
Mhm.
So IONE, we're running to the end of our time together, but
Okay.
I wanted to find out if what's next for you.
What do you mean? Oh, what's next? Oh, let's see. Hmm. Well, it's everything is happening now. I'm working on I'm working, I should say, playing, but it is work as well. Um, a book which is also talking about things I'm talking about now. So I am bringing forward the concept of quantum dreaming, which is bringing the awareness of our dreams and our relationships to each other on that level of beyond our ordinary level of understanding. So I'm writing right now. So myself as writer is having a good time again, emerging.
Nice.
So a new book. Mm-hmm.
Nice. It's that development phase is always so exciting to be engaged in.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Ione, thank you so much for your time. This was just so beautiful and insightful and rich. And I really, really enjoy listening to you.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, so I should tell you really quickly that I am doing an opera, another opera,
Oh,
which is a uh, it's it's beyond. It's with my Irish team, and we're doing a virtual an AR and VR virtual reality opera together. So that's in process. And it relates to Irish and worldwide magical elements and creative creation stories.
nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'll look forward to hearing more about that when it's closer to completion, Ione. And thank you so much again for your time.
So thank you. It's fun to talk.